Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. This is our 4th episode of Facebook Live Book Recommendations.
Yep.
And if you've on our Facebook or on our Instagram at all, you might have seen the great picture that Erin drew of us doing our show. But no one got to see the picture I drew, which was this one. I worked not really hard on it.
It was a good, 30-second attempt.
Yeah, I gave it a shot. Okay, so we're talking about graphic novels tonight. We're really excited.
Yep.
More excited than spooky and suspenseful from October.
Honestly, yeah. I love spooky and suspenseful, but graphic novels.
We really like them.
Yeah, we really do.
It was hard to pick which ones
so
to do.
Hard. So hard.
I see a lot of people jumping on. Make sure to say hello.
Yes, make sure you let us know you're here.
Give us a thumbs up or something.
Yep.
So we're going to start off pretty soon, but first I wanted to make sure to say, a lot of people don't think graphic novels are for grown-ups.
Yep.
Or they think they're all silly fantasy stories. Mm-hmm. I like silly fantasy stories.
Same.
But there are other graphic novels that we're not going to talk about tonight that you might like if you're a nonfiction person, because there are a ton of nonfiction graphic novels out there. For example, you can read about sports. You can even read about beer. They have ones on physics and science and all kinds of things. So please give graphic novels a try. We're going to talk about a couple that fall in the memoir category that are nonfiction, but for the most part, we're going to talk about fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but you should try graphic novels if you haven't yet. Hopefully this show will inspire you.
Yeah. So I'm starting off, and I'm incredibly excited because this is a book I am aggressively telling everyone to read. I have made everyone in my office read it. I think everyone in the world needs to read it. I think it's one of the most beautiful books to come out this year. And it actually, I think, won one of the best books of 2018 or 2019. Wow. I think it was 2019. But it is Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me by Americo, Tamaki, and Rosemary Valerio O'Connell. This book is absolutely gorgeous. It is about a young girl she's 17. Mm-hmm. She's got a girlfriend who keeps breaking up with her. Now, this girlfriend is not the best. She tends to cheat on the main girl, whose name is Freddie. And then whenever she gets bored with the girl that she cheated on her with, she goes back to Freddie and pulls her back in. Now, the interesting thing about this is that because it is graphic novel, you're seeing it partially from Freddie's point of view, but if you look in the background of the pictures, you can see how it's affecting her friends. Oh. So you can see how her friends start to distance themselves from her, how they react poorly to her decisions, and how they even start to physically separate themselves from her. And it's really beautiful because it's all about finding yourself in a toxic relationship and how you get yourself out of it. But basically it's about Freddie, who has this crush on the girl. He's breaking up with her, and she goes to meet a seek-her, which is this woman who gives advice in the back of a board game shop that eventually tells her, you have to break up with Laura Dean. Mm-hmm. And so the whole story is her figuring out how to be okay with breaking up Laura Dean. And I just want to show it because since these are graphic novels, we're going to be showing the interior of the book so you can see how pretty the artwork is. And I'm just in love with this art style. It's so simple, and I love the pink details. So you can kind of just see how just gorgeous this style is. But this is Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me. I, like I said, am aggressively recommending it to anyone who will stand still long enough for me to tell them about this book. So I recommend this one.
Awesome. The first one I'm going to talk about is 100 Nights of Hero.
Yep.
By Isabel Greenberg. This was recommended to me by a coworker, and it's really gorgeous. It's from 2016. It was a New York Times bestseller, an NPR Best Book of 2016, and a Publisher's Weekly Best Book of that same year. So the summary is it's set in a medieval empire called Migdal Bavel, and there's a main character, Cherry, who's married to Jerome, and Jerome makes a bet with his best buddy, Manfred, and he says, if Manfred can seduce Cherry in 100 nights, then Manfred gets the castle and the wife, Cherry. But what Jerome doesn't know is that Cherry is in love with her maid, Hero. So the two women hatch a plan, and Hero will distract Manfred by telling all these amazing, crazy stories for 100 nights to keep him at bay. So a few things about this book. It's like a story within a story within a story. And as a grown-up, it's a storybook-sized book, which I really enjoy. And the art is very similar to old-fashioned woodcuts, which gives it a folklore kind of feel. And it has a lot of links to mythology and folklore, if that's the sort of thing that you enjoy. It got a starred review from Library Journal, who says that readers get sucked into all the stories told within the book, which I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
And it's great for people who enjoy mythology and fables and also children's books. And she uses all these different things to create an original but familiar mythos. So that's 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. It's fantastic.
So, in keeping with the mythology theme, I wanted to jump to one of my favorite graphic novel series. It's one of the series that is usually traditionally published in short, little paperback like magazines at comic book shops, and they're then later on collected. A bunch of them are collected into a trade paperback later on. The series has been going on for a while. I can't remember if it was like 2013 or 14, but it's been going on for a fair amount of time, and it's one I absolutely love. I think it's so fun. It is called The Wicked and the Divine by Kieran Gillen and a bunch of other authors. I can't remember all their names, but the first volume is collected is the Faust Act, which is really great because this entire series is about every 90 years, 12 gods return as young people, and they live as young people, normal lives. They somehow become like celebrities or something very like relevant to the day and age. And then once they're in their like late teens, early 20s, they find out that they are the reincarnation of gods. And then in less than 2 years after finding that out, they're all dead. So the story follows these gods, well, a young girl who is fascinated with the gods. She's a god chaser. And she wants to kind of see their lives. And at the same time, the gods don't want to die, so they're trying to find ways around it. It's a really like beautiful story. It's been going on for a while. There's like at least like 10 volumes at this point.
Wow.
It's a long story. But I wanted to show off the art. So this is one of the gods. You can actually see one of the girl. She's dressed up like the god at one of her concerts. Oh, I see you got a heart.
Thanks for the heart.
Thanks for the heart. And I also wanted to show so you could see the other gods. Like, so this is the gods kind of in their HQ essentially, and I think this is Baal, and like over here is Sekhmet, so it's all gods from different pantheons,
which is great.
Yeah, reimagined in very interesting ways. Like at one point Lucifer is wandering around, and Lucifer is really cool because she's like a woman like with like a cool haircut and a suit, and she's awesome, so I love Lucy. But so that is The Wicked and the Divine series by Kieran Gillen and a bunch of other people, and it's called The Faust Act is the first one.
And hey folks, don't forget, if there's a great graphic novel that you think people should know about, just put it in the comments down below.
Yep.
And if you have any questions about the things we're talking about, also put it in the comments.
Absolutely.
And check out our library catalog for all these great graphic novels we're talking about.
Yep.
So the next one is one you might have heard about, but it took me a while to warm up to.
This one's one of my favorites.
Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. So you know when you're on Amazon looking for stuff and it keeps recommending things to you and you're like, whatever. So I started looking at Saga, which is pretty amazing. It's a critically acclaimed New York Times bestselling series. This first one is from 2013, and it's still going. So that just tells you something about its popularity right there. It's an epic space opera / fantasy that's heavily influenced by Star Wars, for all you Star Wars fans out there. And it depicts two lovers from a long-warring extraterrestrial race, Alana and Marco, who are from separate extraterrestrial races. They're fleeing authorities from both sides of the galactic war as they struggle to care for their newborn daughter, Hazel. It's been called a sexy and subversive drama for adults. This particular volume was the 2013 Hugo Award for Best Graphic Story. And this first one and a lot of others got starred reviews. It's a personal story, and it's about the two lovers. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. And you meet other characters as you're going through, but every moment you're introduced to a character, it's personal. Something personal has happened. They're not just like laying around doing nothing. It really just sucks you into the story really quickly. So that's one thing I really enjoyed. It has really smart dialogue. The characters are unique as far as extraterrestrial races, but familiar enough to get familiar with and comfortable. So.
And it's got like one of my favorite romances I've ever read. It's I love the romance between like the two main alien characters. It's so good.
So here's a little bit of the art. We've got Marco, who has horns. He's the guy. And Alana, you can't tell because she has a cloak on, but she has wings. And look at this. There's like people with TV heads.
So
and
good.
There's a lady with a unicorn horn and a talking cat, which I always enjoy.
Lying cat is my favorite. Anytime you say a lie, it will yell lying at you. It's wonderful.
If my cat did that, I'd be in trouble.
It'd be great.
All right, what's next?
So we're going from like weird sci-fi into dystopian sci-fi.
Okay.
And this is actually a title from an author that a lot of YA readers will know. His name is Scott Westerfield. He's done everything from The Uglies and Pretties to Afterworlds and a ton of other things. He's kind of up there with like the James Patterson of the YA world.
Okay.
And he has penned Spill Zone, and it's illustrated by Alex Pelveland. Spill Zone is set in Poughkeepsie, New York, 3 years after some weird thing happens in the area. They don't know if it's like an interdimensional breach of aliens into the area or a nuclear spill or something, but something has happened, leaving like giant rats that will chase you and like humans that just kind of like exist, like bags of meat wandering around. It's very creepy. And it follows the story of a young girl who her name is Addison, who is like the only person who really sneaks into the spill zone to take pictures of the just absolute just carnage and mess out there for the black market, to kind of support her and her young sister, who has not spoken in 3 years since the event happened. And then as the story progresses, there's another spill in North Korea, and it just kind of like talks about like the whole issue happening around these weird events happening. The first book is really great. The second book got like a ton of awards, so there's 2 volumes out so far. And like I said, the second one has gotten a ton of awards, so I'm really excited to read the second one. I haven't done it yet, but the first one was a real like blast to read. So that is Spill Zone by Scott Westerfield and Alex Pelveland, and I wanted to show the artwork, which is just really fun, very bright, very vibrant. Kind of got like a painterly feel. It shows you like the weird things happening in the spill zone. Yeah, so really fun book.
If you're just hopping on, we're talking about graphic novels. Don't forget to give us a hello or a like. We really
tell us if you have a favorite, because we may have honestly read it. If we haven't, we want to learn more about new ones.
Absolutely.
We're always looking for fun titles to try out.
So this is one that I just started this past year, and this is the one I talk to everybody about, and all my coworkers were like, "What are you talking about? This is so crazy." It's Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I can't tell you how much I like this book. It would take the whole show. So it won a ton of awards. Also would take the whole show to tell you all the awards. Honestly. Eisner Awards, Hugo Awards, several Best Graphic Novel or Comic Award. And this is just for the first one. This is volume 1. It's set in an alternate matriarchal society in 1900s Asia. It's a richly imagined world of Art Deco inflected steampunk, and it tells the story of a teenage girl who's struggling to survive the trauma of war, and she shares a mysterious psychic link with a monster of tremendous power, a connection that will transform them both and make them the target of both human and otherworldly powers. So it's got great reviews from a lot of different places. Hey, maybe someone else likes it. We got a thumbs up. Awesome.
Yes, it's such a good book. Everyone should thumb it up. Like, I love it.
Cosmopolitan said that if you want big, beautiful, terrifying magic, then Monstrous is your next favorite comic. Hey, we have 13 people. Make sure you say hello.
If you have a favorite book, you should absolutely tell us.
Let us know your favorite graphic novel. Also, the Los Angeles Review of Books said that Monstrous is as ambitious as George R.R. Martin or J.R.R. Tolkien, which gives you an idea of how complex the world is. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of the art, which is what drew me right from the beginning, because it's gorgeous, like Art Deco-y. It's amazing.
Oh, such good art. I love it so much.
And this is sort of a tame page. It can get a little bit violent, but just the colors and the shading and the detail is really amazing. There's also some family story in there. And just like with Saga, there's different creatures that no one's imagined except in this book. But they're, familiar enough that you can kind of understand what's going on. But it's really gorgeous. The new one just came out, number 4, this fall, so I'm excited. Thank you for the heart.
Absolutely.
Hi, Parwana.
Hi.
Thanks for jumping on.
So I'm taking a bit of a swing from like high fantasy intensity to something very, very real, and it's kind of memoir-like. It's based on the author's experiences, but told in a slightly fictionalized version. So this is, I love this title, A Story About Cancer with a Happy Ending. So this is a YA title, but they also do recommend that it could be something that can be read a little bit younger, especially if you have like a kid who is dealing with leukemia, which is what the main character is dealing with. The book starts off with the most amazing line of, in just a few minutes, they're going to tell me how much time I have to live. And it's very, very beautiful. It's very touching. It does have a happy ending. They're not lying to you. But this is something that's really interesting for people who are wanting to like kind of look at the like cancer experience, or have someone who is about to like go through it or something like that, especially a young person. Yeah. This is a beautiful text to look at. The artwork is really fascinating because it's got these like kind of dimmer colors. It has, I'm trying to pull up, you can kind of see these just very, very emotional illustrations. But it's about a 15-year-old girl who it has been diagnosed with leukemia, and it follows her story as she goes through chemo and how she falls in love and experiences romance, and how it changes her relationship with her parents. Mm-hmm. And it's a very beautiful book. It has won like a bunch of awards. It's gotten a ton of starred reviews. Mm-hmm. I picked it up thinking I was going to cry. I did, but in a happy way at the same time. It's a very emotional book, and it's a very heavy book, but it's also something that I think like people who are going through cancer, who have loved ones who are going through it, should pick it up, because it's a really different way of experiencing the text. Instead of like the black and white, here are all these cancer cliches, it's more like, here's a more personal story. So that again is A Story About Cancer with a Happy Ending by India Desjardins and Marianne Ferrer. And it was Canadian, I think. So it was originally written in French and then translated. So we have this down the YA section. I think everyone should read it.
A lot of the titles we're talking about are crossover, so they could be for adult or for YA. Yeah. So don't be shy about trying different ranges.
Oh yeah, like I have a lot of YA books that read higher. I actually have YA books that read lower. It's more finding something that you really like.
Yeah. Oh, we got a thumbs up for that. Yeah. Glad you agree.
Absolutely.
So now I have a memoir that was recommended by another coworker. And I like happy endings too.
I know, it's a really beautiful book. I have a lot of emotions for it. I think it's gorgeous. So yeah, I absolutely agree, Piranha.
This one is called The Best We Could Do, and it is by a name I had to get pronunciation on. Tae Bui is the author's name. It was from 2017. It's a national bestseller. The American Library Association called it a notable book in 2018, and it is an emotional story. It's a memoir that explores the anguish of immigration and the lasting effects of displacement on a child and her family. The author documents the story of her family's daring escape from Vietnam, South Vietnam, in the 1970s, and the difficulty they had building a new life for themselves. So I thought this was timely. Yeah. PBS NewsHour commented on it. Like, how many times does PBS comment on a graphic novel?
Yeah, true.
They said it's a cinematic epic following several generations through the travails of immigration and emotional dislocation. There's also a Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist named Viet Thanh Nguyen. He said it's a book to break your heart and mend it again. Best we could do. Let me show you a little bit of the art. It's pretty simple. It's very heavy black with some orange tinting. I think the orange makes it kind of dreamy, like a memory, you know? So I thought that was really effective. And it's just different scenes between the family members and all the things that they go through. So it has even on the inside here all these different things that critics said. Yeah. It's just amazing. You should pick it up.
I love when like illustrators do that kind of like extra addition of color like they did with Laura Dean. It's, I love that like just bright pop of color. And like that's one thing I love about graphic novels is that you have like these harsh like black and white lines, and you have these beautiful like illustrative additions that just really bring the text to life.
It really adds another dimension.
Yeah, as you can tell, we really love graphic novels and feel that they are incredibly important. I'm always telling people, if you have a reluctant reader, One really good way to bring them into reading is to hand them a graphic novel, because they are a very great way of like learning how to read dialogue and follow a story without the really intimidating aspect of looking at a bunch of lines with words on it, which can be hard for a reluctant reader. Yeah. So once again, big advocate, huge advocate. Anyway, I am also going to talk about some children's texts. I don't have like a ton of children's texts because there is a lot of crossover. But I brought up one that won, it came out in 2017. It won like the best book of the year for children's in 2017, 2018. This is called Witch Boy by Mary Knox Ostertag, and also illustrated by Molly Knox Ostertag, and also illustrated by her. It is about a young boy who he is 12, 13, and he's in a society where girls do magic, they do witchcraft, boys are shapeshifters. Well, of course, he does not want to be a shapeshifter. He doesn't want to have to choose the shape that he changes into. He wants to be a witch, and so he has been slowly, learning magic on the sly and figuring out like how he can kind of like reach his full potential. But then he, of course, but then he also gets caught out by his society and causes a lot of problems, especially when they find out some other person in the past had learned magic as well, and that it caused a major problem. So this is really great because it's bright and vibrant and awesome for children, because like a lot of things happening,
colors are
a lot of great colors, a lot of great action. But like, so you can see one of the shapeshifters in full form. It's a really fun book, and there's two or three. I think the second one just came out, maybe the third one. But yeah, so this is Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag.
Cool. I have a complete move away from that sort of thing.
Yep.
This is Hot Dog Taste Test by Lisa Hanawalt. So Lisa Hanawalt is the award-winning cartoonist and designer/producer of Netflix BoJack Horseman.
Nice.
So if you know BoJack Horseman, you know a little bit of what you're getting into with Lisa Hanawalt. This is from 2016, but she writes graphic novels all the time. There's newer things for sure. So in this one, it's a mix of stories and lists and just random images and drawings. It's a really great collection. It's got funny comics, saliva-stimulating art, and deliciously screwball lists that skewer the foodie subculture. Oh, thanks, Maria.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Illustrations are nice.
They're really cool looking. I love them.
Dishes out 5-star laughs as she muses on pop culture relationships and the animal in all of us. And I think by that, there's a lot of poop jokes. So if you don't like poop jokes, this isn't for you. Amy Sedaris said that, frankly speaking, you should get off your buns and buy this book. You'll relish it.
Puns.
Lots of puns.
Puns.
Wall Street Journal said Hot Dog Taste Test roasts food obsession in its many forms with a sometimes gross, sometimes charming collection of watercolors, sketches, and comics. Publishers Weekly gave it a starred review and said that her self-aware humor will whet anyone's appetite. So, you know, it depends on if it's a list or a random illustration or like a full-blown drawing. That her images vary throughout the book. But here's just a little taste of like the different kinds of things she might, you know, joke about, and her art style and the colors. So the colors are really vibrant. The humor is wacky. So if you like BoJack Horseman or you want to learn more about Lisa Hanawalt, she has a ton of stuff. You should check out Hot Dog Taste Test. Whenever I read it, it makes me laugh so hard I snort.
Nice. Okay, so no graphic novel list can ever be complete without manga. Manga is very, very prevalent. For those who don't know what manga is, it is Japanese-style comic books that are read, instead of from left to right like we do, they're read from right to left. They're typically in a size about this big, though they can kind of vary, but they're usually smaller, black and white, very...
Thanks for the thumbs up.
Thanks for the thumbs up. But smaller, black and white, and usually more like comic book style. They have a very specific look to them. So I pulled out one that I really like because there's a ton of manga out. There's big names like Naruto. There's ones that like are new, like the Girl from Shulurun, which is new and very pretty, and I couldn't get a copy of it because it's so popular. So I wanted to do one that I just read that I really liked. The series is called A Case Study of Anatas by Jun Mochizuki. It is very cool. It is set in like a steampunk version of Paris, about a young boy or young man who is on his way to Paris to help eradicate the vampire issue that is happening because vampires are running rampant throughout the City of Flowers.
Thanks for the thumbs up.
Thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah,
You must like vampires in Paris.
it's a really cool story. But it's about Noe, who is going to Paris to eradicate them, and somehow ends up teaming up with a vampire who is also working to get rid of the vampire problem, or at least learn how to save the vampires. And by doing that, they're working together using a book called I forgot what it's called, but I think it's the Grimoire of the Clockwork Grimoire is what they called it. But I just want to give it a taste of what traditional style looks like. So it's very, very, this is a very intense page to open up to. But it's very black and white and very stark, but very beautiful. I just want to show one that was introducing my favorite character to come into the first volume. And there's I think 10 volumes in this. Manga tend to run really long, but I just really love this character. I lost my bookmark. She's very cool, very intimidating, and very fun. So that's my manga recommendation, which is the series The Case Study of Vanitas.
All right, so I have a manga recommendation, which strangely enough is also set in Paris.
Weird.
So this isn't really your typical manga style. It is by Taiyo Matsumoto, who you would think would do traditional manga, but he actually toured France at the age of 22 for artistic research. And, went to your cozy books. You missed our holiday one.
We did that last time. It was so good.
Try Cat in the Stacks, 6 Cats a-Slayin'.
Yep, that was really fun.
So Matsumoto went around studying art in Paris. So his work takes more after French comic artists than Japanese style. This came out just recently in September, and there was a lot of buzz about it. And I thought, I like museums and cats. So I checked it out. And it is set, of course, in the Louvre Museum. It's called Cats of the Louvre. And it contains more than just the famous works of art and its history. That's okay, Parwana.
It's fine. It's there. You can go back and check it out. We have a ton of really good books on there.
Yeah, we do. But at night, within the darkened galleries of the museum, an unseen and surreal world comes alive, witnessed only by the small family of cats that live in the attic until now. It got a lot of really cool reviews. Comic book reviews said it's one of the most rewarding new manga releases that you'll read all year. And Comic Book Beat said it has a gentle, melancholic, magical realism. It's by turns gentle, sad, gorgeous, and strange. So I just want to show you a little bit about the art. It tells you things about the art in the museum, and it also has anthropomorphic cats. So when the cats are alone, they turn into half people, half cat. But when the cats are with other people, then they are just regular cats. But it talks about a mystery. One of the old caretakers in the museum lost his sister years and years ago, and everyone thinks that she died, but he thinks that she's alive in a painting.
Ooh,
so there's
cool.
all kinds of different dimensional aspects to it too. So Cats of the Louvre, you should really check it out. It's fantastic.
So my last main recommendation for the night came out this year. It's gotten a ton of awards and recognition. It is one of the weirder books I've read as graphic novels, but I absolutely loved it. It is called Skip by Molly Mendoza and illustrated by her as well. This book, it's considered like a graphic dystopia novel in a weird world that you just don't quite know the full story about. You know that some kind of dystopia has happened, and it's Bloom, who is a non-binary character who uses they, them pronouns, is living with their guardian B. B gets a call over the radio saying, "Help, we need help, there's these tech hounds harrying us under the underpass." And so B goes to help them and tells Bloom to stay put and watch the area. And so Bloom goes to sleep when
Maria likes cats too.
Yeah. Tells Bloom to kind of watch the lake that they take care of. And when Bloom falls asleep, they then wake up in a weird, psychedelic, strange world where they're trying to figure out what's happening to them. While at the same time, there's a creature named Gloopy. I did not pronounce that incorrectly. It is exactly how it sounds. Gloopy, who is a weird creature that was trying to help out with this harvest festival and made a mistake and also fell asleep. And when they wake up, they're sucked into this world. And it's how these two characters meet each other start to figure out how to get out, but also deal with like a lot of deep emotional trauma that they've both been holding in. And I just wanted to show this beautiful artwork because it needs to be shown.
It's amazing.
So each time that they kind of move through a dimensional space, it changes to a different style. So like sometimes it's these bright, vibrant, like modern looking pages. And then when they move to other places, it gets beautiful in this blue color. It's absolutely gorgeous. I completely just was astounded that this was a YA title, because you don't usually see these kind of beautiful pieces of work in YA, but I just absolutely love it. So this is Skip by Molly Mendoza.
Awesome. Okay, so I have my next one, Sabrina, which you might have heard about. It's from 2018. And it was the first ever graphic novel nominated for the Man Booker Prize, which right there legitimizes the form graphic novel.
Yep, basically.
It was a New York Times notable book. It was on 20 lists in 2018, saying that it was best of the year. That includes the Washington Post, NPR, Newsweek, and The Guardian. So it has an interesting story, very modern. A young woman named Sabrina goes missing in Chicago, leaving behind her sister Sandra and her boyfriend Teddy. Later, a video surfaces showing Sabrina's brutal death, and it was sent by her killer to various news agencies. The murderer is identified, and both his and Sandra's bodies are found in the killer's house, but then the video spreads across the internet, and conspiracy theories start up around Sabrina's murder, and it includes accusations that it's fake, and that the sister and boyfriend are just actors. Wow. And then they're harassed by members of the public searching for the truth as they see it. So the New Yorker said that this is an intimate story of one man's suffering, but also captures the political nihilism of the social media era. Mm-hmm. And The Guardian said it's a step forward for comic strip literary fiction, but it's a book that shows as well the slippery horrors of our post-truth reality. So again, another timely story. Yeah. Sabrina, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name of the author. It's Nick Donasso.
Yeah. I don't even want to take a crack at that. Yeah.
So let me show you some of the art.
Aww. My father says hello. He's enjoying this apparently.
Hi, Aaron's father. So this is the art. It's a little simple, but I think that's to counteract sort of the horror of the story and all the emotions that the characters are going through. And it's very light pastel colors, I think, again, as a contrast to the darkness of the tale that's being told. So, first ever nominated graphic novel for Man Booker Prize, Sabrina.
Yep. We're running a little bit late. Do you think we have enough time to kind of do our last little thing? Or
we have 12 people.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? We always like to finish off with like a cute little like extra that's like a short but sweet. Like here's a fun send off that we really liked, and so we wanted to kind of give you a little nice send off with some interesting titles that we think you should check out. My last one then is Check Please by Nozoki Okazu. This is an adorable story. I devoured it in like a day. It was originally published as a webcomic and then later turned into a series, but it's about a young boy who really likes hockey, goes to school and joins the hockey team and does not quite fit, but he starts to like finding his place in this weird, like almost macho, not macho, masculine area where he doesn't quite fit because he's gay, and still trying to figure out how to like come to terms with that. And of course, he gets a crush on the head of the hockey team, Mr. Blue Eyes, named Jack. And so it's just like, it's in this really cute webcomic style, very fun. But the best part about it is that they have, throughout the book, you see the character tweeting a lot. And you'll mention the people like, oh, you're tweeting again. But you can read his tweets at the end.
That's really cool.
And I think it's a really cute little addition. So this is a very fun book to pick up if you want something quick and fun to read.
I just want to do a quick mention of Alan Moore. Alan Moore is the person who really got me into graphic novels as a grown-up. He wrote From Hell, which was made into a movie with Johnny Depp. He wrote V for Vendetta, which was huge. That was made into a movie. This one is Watchmen, which was also made into a movie.
And now is a TV series on HBO, which is incredibly good.
So his stories are always very complex and
very intense.
Yeah, not for the light of heart sometimes. So even though The Watchmen's about like a group of superhero friends, there's a lot of adult themes, relationships, backstabbing amongst the superheroes. But I thought this one was cool because it has a lot of references for the time period it's set in, and it looks very much like your stereotypical comic book.
The traditional comic book style,
with all the colors and everything. So he really knows how to put all his tools to use when it comes to a good graphic novel. If you haven't read them yet, you should. Make sure to order these on our catalog.
So we have these all in our catalog. You can check them out. I don't know if we're putting up a list of them at some point. We are
putting up a list soon.
Yeah, so we have our list of these, so you can come and find them later on. Mine are mostly in the YA section. So our next time that we're going to see you, which we're very excited about, we're going to get all fancy for it, of course. We better get all fancy for it, because we are doing books made into movies.
Yes, and this is ahead of the Oscars.
Yep.
So we're going to try to have some fun, talk about books made into movies, and I'm sure there's some in the Oscar list for this year.
I'm absolutely certain there are, yeah.
So we'll check that out.
So that is January 8th.
Wednesday. See you next year.
See you next year.
Bye.
Bye.